Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Angelic, Alchemy Meenakshi, and I am here today to share some beautiful messages that were coming forth in the month of October, end of October, going into November, into the 11/11 portal days. And as we can feel these energies heightening as we're moving towards the 11/11 portal days, I thought it will be, the perfect time to bring forth these messages because it took me a while to even decipher some of them because they were coming in as continuous messages. There was a sequence to it. So let's get started. I'll share a dream that I had related to time travels. And the reason why I'm sharing this dream with everyone is because it helped me to understand the concept of time somewhat. I have to add somewhat because time is something so complex. And while we say, yes, time is not linear and time does not exist, yet, we do have watches and we do have 24 hours in a day, in the physicality. So this is something that I have always requested my guides to share with me whenever it would be the right time for me to understand what it means for the past, present, future to be working together, and how time really works. And of course, when you put your question out there for them, they just wait for the right time to share the answers. And the answers may or may not come all together in just one download, but they may be sequences. So I'll share whatever came forth this time through my experience, and I hope that it helps you in some way in understanding or answering some questions that you might have had, or also maybe it'll motivate you to take your own journey to understand it in your own way through your guides. And also, it's been a remarkably healing journey to have gone through that dream time. And it made me understand how we can go back into various timelines and kind of just bring them together, meet different versions of you, see life through their perspective and what they're going through, and how it is all, ultimately connected to you. And why the you here could actually be potentially feeling the you in Lemuria, or the you in Atlantis, or the you in, just a parallel Earth, right? So I hope this helps you. And then I also want to share a little bit about the energies that we are feeling as per my perspective, messages, and Dreamtime downloads that I've received and felt as well. Okay. For my messages, I do connect with Source, Divine Mother, Divine Father of Source, as well as, the Ascended Masters, Jesus, Mother Mary, as well as a lot of Indian gods and goddesses that have been my guides throughout my life here on Earth, in this current lifetime, as well as previous lifetimes. If you want to know more about me, you can actually visit my website, angelicalchemyholistichealing.com. And I am on YouTube as well as Facebook and Instagram by the same name. So I'll begin with my dream and what I went through, and then post the dream, I'll talk a little bit about the downloads of the messages I received to decipher the dream and what my guides had to share regarding them. In this experience, this dream started off by me going into a timeline where one of my ancestors was alive, or later, as the guides told me, he came back into that timeline because, let me see how to explain this. In that timeline, my ancestor was alive. However, in this timeline, he has crossed over. But that timeline was like the past, if I may explain. Okay, I'll try my best to explain this, but when you're in the situation, it's a little bit more easier to understand it. So I was in my past, and my ancestor was going to make some changes in his decisions, and something about how he was going to create some things, but he was going to do them a little different this time, or something like that. And he was doing that. And I was asking him if he needed some water, and I was going to give him some water to drink. So that's all about that part of the dream. And later on, when I asked the angels what that was about, they basically said, my ancestor that has crossed over now in this timeline, because we are in the present, was able to go back into a past time when he was alive to guide that version of him to make certain changes in his decisions, and basically correct something or be able to create something that he was supposed to do, which he did not do at that point. And he was able to heal that version of himself and the family lineage through that. Okay, so that was really beautiful, and that he was able to come back into that timeline. And that's why one of the topics that I talk about a lot, and I feel is very, very close to my heart, is the healing of the ancestors, because we are here today to heal ourselves as well as heal our entire lineage. Okay, so this healing is not just for us now. As we're healing ourselves, we are going back and healing our ancestors, and we're healing the entire DNA lineage, and we're also healing in healing the DNA lineage and the ancestors, we're healing the future generations as well. So now, if you do a lot of work around this, your ancestors will start coming back and they'll start pitching in and clearing what they needed to clear in their timelines. If you can hold space for them to do that. And that was what I learned from that dream. Immediately after that dream ended, the scene just changed, and I went into a timeline of the current war that is going on, Israel and the bombarding of Palestine. And they were showing me the war from both perspectives and the eyes of someone who would be on both sides. And somehow, I was feeling the pain of the wronged ones on both sides. When it comes to wars, there is a lot of collateral damage that happens of people that have not even contributed to the war. Someone else, they were showing me initially, that was another dream. The trigger point was something else. The ones receiving the brunt of the war are completely different from the ones that triggered it. So they were just showing me perspectives of how individuals are feeling and facing their fears, the trauma that comes out of it. And it was terrifying, to say the least. Okay. And I know, as light workers, as beautiful beings, as as our hearts, as humanity, we hold space for anyone that is suffering. But when you are in their shoes, what they're going through is beyond the comprehension of anyone that is not in their shoes. And that's what I felt through that part of the dream. And my heart is shivering right now as I'm talking about it and remembering it. And so let's send a lot of love there to the countries that are war or being bombarded, to continue sending love and healing to them. So I felt that it was heart-shattering, okay, and traumatic. As soon as that ended, we were on the road, and I was being able to see it, of what was happening to the children, to the young girls, and the families, the fear that they face when someone's outside their building about to attack them, like literally, like I was going through that experience with them. So let's continue sending love there. As soon as this scene ended, the scene shifted into a complete snowy, icy place, kind of like in the movie Frozen, where Elsa and Anna live, and those mountains, everything is frozen. There's just snow and ice everywhere, yet everything is so beautiful. It's not dark or gloomy, it's just beautiful. You can feel the presence of life, yet you don't see people moving around. So I was in this forest full of ice and snow, tall trees, pine trees, cedars, different types of trees. And at this point, I had an e-scooter. I was on an e-scooter and I was zipping through it. And there were other people with me. So there were other light workers. I knew they were light workers because they were also time traveling. Somehow we knew in the dream that we are on this trip, on this journey together. And so we all traveling, and then we go through this space, complete like a pathway, which was open, clear, like there was a clearing. And both sides had beautiful white trees. And as I turn around, I see that most of them were suddenly missing. They were not there anymore. So when I turned around, I saw that there was a huge haystack. So I went back and I said, "Oh, what is this?" And then I realized that the haystack itself was a portal. So these people were not supposed to continue the journey with me. They were supposed to go through their own experiences and go into different timelines that they had to visit. Okay, so they basically went through the haystack. The haystack turned into a portal for them. And, I looked through the haystack, there's nothing. So if you go and you look through it, it'll be just a haystack, right? So, but they went through it as a portal. So basically what this means is, even right now where we're working, when you go into the mountains and you go for hikes, or you go through, you go through trails, it's 444 my time, yay, angel numbers. So they went through the haystack as a portal into the time journey that they had to take. And that wasn't my journey to take. But at that point in my dream, I knew what happened. I was like, oh, there's one more person with me. I was like, oh, did you see that? They just went through the haystack and that was a portal. They've gone off somewhere. And so we continued our journeys, and we also had like a little carriage in front of our e-scooters if we wanted to, put in some stuff that we were carrying, but we didn't really have anything with us. So we were able to also shorten the e-scooter. So some technical stuff there. We just shortened it, and then, we sped off from there, continued the journey. And then I saw on the side of this beautiful white space, snowy icy mountain, forest, not a mountain. I think it was a forest in a mountain, forest in a mountain, I think. Um, I saw like a ledge and an empty space, and then there was more ice, and then there was this gap in between. So I said, oh, I just got curious, what is here? And then so I peeped, and I saw that like there was an animal. Okay, so I noticed that when I touched the second part of the ledge, after the separation, I could push it. It was a pretty big piece. If I tried physically, I definitely cannot do it. But in that moment, I could do it. So when I pushed it, it opened up space for me to be able to see. And so there was something under the land that we were in as well. And I saw this big, huge bear resting, like he was hibernating. But it didn't look like he was hibernating for a long time because he looked pretty healthy and big to me. He was massive. I know bears are big, but he was as big as a king size bed, and he was just resting on his side. He was looking towards the right side. And at that moment, I wanted to see if I was really there, like, was I there in the physical? Can, people actually see me, sense me too? So I knew the bear was sleeping, and, I just called out to see if it can hear me, being silly out there in the dream time. So I just made some sound and I clapped. And as I did that, the bear didn't wake up, but the bear heard me and flipped around and went on his back and continued sleeping. And he's making these sounds from his mouth because he was really deep in his hibernation. But when I clapped and I, called out to him, he turned around. So he did hear me, that means, so he could hear me. And so we said, okay, let him just sleep. And then we pulled the ledge back again and left it the way it was meant to be. And we carried on from there. As we carried on from this time and space, I came across a bathroom. Okay, in the middle of a forest, there's a little, like, not a house, but just this little door. And then when I opened it, it was a bathroom. Okay, bathrooms in dream times are a symbolism for releasing. Okay, whenever you're feeling heavy, whenever you want to cleanse yourself, you'll see yourself taking a shower or washing your feet or something like that, or literally like with a foam and lather of soap all over you, and you're washing yourself down. So I saw a bathroom, and I knew at that point that I was supposed to release something. So within an instant, as soon as I went in, I the bathroom was frozen, by the way. Bathroom was completely frozen because it was a part of the same what would you call it? Same timeline as the frozen forest that we just saw outside. So as soon as I released what I had to release, and the snow melted, and the bathroom turned into an actual bathroom, which turned into an escalator, and it started moving forward. Okay. So this was like really crazy. So just going back to what this snow area was, the frozen area, Archangel Michael later explained that it was Lemuria. And they said, this is Lemuria in waiting. So Lemuria has, as you know, it's already gone. It was supposed to be a past, but it did not break down as in it doesn't exist, right? It still exists somewhere. And Lemuria is still waiting for us to join it in a way. So to basically New Earth, right? Lemuria is a part of New Earth. It's waiting for us to happen, for our Earth to join it. And that's when it'll be birth again, like the new birth will happen. At the moment, it is in a resting phase, pretty much like the bear. Oh, I'm just understanding this part now. So the bear represents the resting phase that Lemuria is in. That phase, that timeline of Lemuria was in a resting phase. And that's what the bear was representing. So as soon as I released what I had to release, the bathroom turned into an escalator. So as that happened, an escalator evolved from that room, and I started moving forward. And then they took me to another individual experience. As soon as that started, I found myself landing into a classroom. But this wasn't a classroom from now, today. It was basically a classroom from ancient times, earlier times, but not too ancient, because when I was in there, I saw like old desks. It looked like university, and they were all boys, men. They were university students, but they were sitting in a row, quite different from how we sit in the classrooms now. And they were all wearing the same shirts, buttoned up, very formal. And there were one or two boys who were standing, and the rest of them were sitting, and there was a teacher. As I landed in this classroom, I looked around and they all looked at me so they could see me, and it felt like maybe I was not meant to be there, or, I don't know how they saw me. So I asked them, I looked at them and I said, "What year is it?" Okay, so that question was like, as soon as I said that, they turned their heads to look at me, and the teacher went over to his desk and he brought me a pocket watch that he had there. And he gave me his pocket watch, and looked at the pocket watch. It had like a lot going on in the dial, different things. I think, again, it was a symbolism for understanding time and how it works, because there were 3 mini dials within that dial. Okay. If I look at a pocket watch now, I'm not sure if they made pocket watches like that, but that's how I saw it. And I was trying to understand it. And then the teacher, or one of the students, said, "It's 1914. And I said, "Okay." And the teacher just looked at me and smiled. And then I saw myself coming out of there immediately back on the escalator. And then when I asked the angels, they told me basically this was my own individual timeline. I was this teacher. And now this teacher, which is a version of me again, also healed his timelines through connecting with me. And I healed my timelines of that life through connecting with him. And then the watch basically symbolized that connection as well, which he gave me a watch. And then I came out of there. Okay, that was a very beautiful experience. And I think they were really shocked to see me for some reason. I don't know what I looked like to them. And then I came back on the escalator. As I came back on the escalator, I could see there were 3 escalators. Okay, so they were parallel to each other. There were 3 escalators parallel to each other. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then I was in the middle escalator, and there was a glass door on both sides. So I could see the escalator to my right, and I could see the escalator to the left. It was not just an escalator. It was basically on both sides. There was life going on there, as if you're passing through an airport, and how you see the airport is busy. It seemed like they were basically airports. And then what happened was I opened the door to the left. Okay. Now, what the angels told me was, this was the past, then I was in the present, and then to my left was the future. Okay, so that's how they were showing me time exists together. Past, present, and future are all parallel to each other, and they're happening together. And so what they did was they made me get off the escalator and enter to the left. So I opened the door and I went into the left side. And they showed me something that happened in my timeline based on something that had just happened a night before. Okay, so something was happening. I was supposed to purchase something. I decided not to purchase it because I felt it was not good for me. They showed me what would have happened if I had purchased that. Okay, so just a small decision like that. So my decision from the past, which was last night, and what would have happened if I had chosen that, which was going to be the future, but my present was being able to see it. So that's what it was. So as soon as we make a decision, the future is already formed, basically. Okay, and not just one single future is formed, but the future of choosing to buy it was formed and removed. What could have been? So that timeline didn't happen. But what is, because it didn't happen, that is still existing. That's how you create timelines, and you remove timelines with your choices. But sometimes you can feel both sides of the choices. Okay, so this was a big relief for me, because they showed me that I made the right choice. So that's what they were showing me, that some of the results of our decisions are immediate. It's happening immediately in creation. And that's why also we feel so much, because the veil has thinned out so much. We're able to feel our past, present, and future all together as well. Okay. So this was a very beautiful way for them to show me, at least. It helped me understand somewhat what time looks like, and what they mean by, the past, present, and future are happening together. Time doesn't exist. So basically what I understood was that how there is time and there is space, and everything in between is energy. So basically, do you realize that a lot of times we say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change my time. I'm going to change that time and space. How I understand it after this experience is that when we change something in our timelines or in time and space, we're actually changing the energy of the frequency of what transpired there. Okay. And not time itself, because that is still running. Time is running. Time is not waiting for anyone. It's still going. Space still exists. The space is not going to be erased. It still exists. The energy frequency of what transpires between time and space as they meet in their graph is what we're changing in between. And that's how we shift and change our timelines, and we become more productive or less productive in our times or our timelines by choosing how we want to pep up our energy levels or bring down our energy levels, or how we work through our day, basically. This helped me also understand the collective timelines and how the past, present, future of the collective timelines are working. Because as Archangel Michael and my higher self was explaining to me, they said uh, this whole experience was basically to understand the magnanimity of the expansion of time and the simplicity of the unification of time when it happens. And they also said we as a collective are sifting through, we are classifying and grading our timelines as a collective to see, what the correct classification is meant to be. And we're healing them as we go as a collective to remove old patterns and stick with the new patterns that we want for the new birth that we're going towards ascension. And they said we are sifting through timelines as a collective, grading them, classifying them to bring order and unification at the time of ascension. So the eventual unification of time, as I see it from my perspective right now, this may change if I get more downloads or, more understanding. How I see it right now and how it was explained to me right now, the unification of time will only eventually happen at the time of ascension. And until then, it is spread out, but the timelines are sort of unifying already. They're coming together. They are sort of collapsing and merging with it, not collapsing, but maybe merging together to form like a bigger timeline. And then there are sub timelines. So it's becoming a little more simpler, okay? And that's why it is a very important time in our timeline to use this time, this energy, and the thinning of the veil and the high frequency that we have on Earth, especially through these days of portal days of 10-10, 11-11 portal coming through. Then we'll have the December portals coming as well to actually heal our timelines. Take this journey in a way that you feel comfortable. You can do it through past life regressions, or you can do it on your own, just like I, dreamt of it. Make that intention with your higher self, and you can dream through it. You do it in dream time, astral travel time, or you can actually just do it through meditation as well, simply by making an intention. When the time is right, it will unfold. That's how we can go ahead and heal ourselves individually and as a collective. And our collective is actually doing it. And that's why they showed it to me in dream time for myself individually, so that I could understand from a collective's perspective as well. Because remember, they showed how we have to look at things individually, but at some point we need to drop that individuality and see what it is like from the perspective of the collective consciousness. Now, also looking at what the current energies are for our collective at this time in the month of November. All right, now looking at the energy of our collective and what we've gone through this entire year, and specifically the last 2 months have been extremely, hyper energetic for everybody. There's been a lot of energy flow. There's been a lot of turbulence in the collective, a lot of anxiety as well that built up over time. So basically, our collective has moved through a time of introspection, a time of choice point, where they had to literally choose through duality. Okay. Now, I am saying duality. However, if you look at it, we had multidimensional choices available. There were multiple choices available, but eventually it all just boils down to two main timelines that, people look at. And we were making a choice between duality, which way are we going to go? And the collective just went through that. And as we emerged through that period, which is October to 11th, number 11, which is a master number within numerology as well. It is a portal number. It is a number of new beginnings, because number 1 is again new beginning. So we are in the new beginnings, and number 11 is 2 number 1s together. We don't join 1 and 1 together to make them 2, because it is a master number. We don't add them to shrink them back to number 2. Number 11 just stands by itself. It is a portal in itself. So now our collective is going through a lot of energies, a lot of emotions that are I think one part of the collective is hyperventilating. There's a lot that is going on, a lot of anxiety, but there's also like a lot of excitement on one side. So there are mixed emotions that are going on. But as a collective, we are now learning to deal with our emotions because we've been through a lot as I experienced. Our faith has been tested. We have been given times to rest and to literally surrender and allow for the universe to, play its cards and allow for justice to flow through. And that is something that our collective is now experiencing. And as we're going through this, we need to continue to stay balanced in our emotions, no matter what goes around us. Just remembering as a collective, if there is turbulence in the ocean, to stay calm and be that calm, be that harmony and that peace point of holding space for the collective, for that turbulence to calm down, for the turbulent ocean and the sea to basically turn into a beautiful, calm ocean of peace and togetherness. Okay, so we are going to go through somewhat of a turbulent time still, emotionally. Okay, there's going to be a lot of still a lot of attacks coming from two sides attacking each other. So we need to basically stay balanced in our hearts and hold space for our collective to walk through these emotions. And as we're going through that, we're also going to be, since we're moving from November to December, looking back at all the challenges that we had this year, okay, of all the discomforts, challenges, anything that put us down, anything that made us think less of ourselves, anything that made us feel we need to be bailed out of a situation. We're going to look back at all of that. And we're going to remember also perseverance that we put through to come through these times, this dark night of the soul, because now we are emerging. We've birthed as a new collective, and we are actually we're in a transformational period right now, almost there. Another month or so, we'll be in a completely different timeline, which looks very positive and beautiful. So we'll be looking back at all the challenges we went through and the faith that helped us go through those challenges and keep our head high with that faith, with that hope, and how that actually brought us to the timelines that we currently are in as a collective. And going forward, as we're moving into the new year, we will be taking some time out to, really rest, recuperate, and look back at our lessons that we're bringing with us and look at the lessons that we're bringing forth into the next year of how we're going to work, what our perspectives are, what our priorities are, that of world peace, of bringing order in the world, because justice is something that keeps playing up again and again. I keep hearing the word justice. I keep sensing justice. I keep feeling justice. So we are going into a time of justice. We are in the time of justice now, something we've been waiting for a very long time. And as a collective, we are birthing into that time of fertility, a time of happiness, abundance, joy, all over. Okay. And as we're doing that, just keeping in mind that there are countries that are still under attack, remembering that they are a part of a collective to, send love, for peace and harmony to be restored, for justice to be played out there as well, because that is something that we need at a collective level, not for just a certain segment and section of the collective, but for us overall as a collective. Okay, so we are actually birthing ourselves into beautiful, evolving into beautiful new timelines, new birth, new opportunities, new perspectives, and new ways of looking at things. The sun is shining bright. Okay, so that's how I see it. There are beautiful source dragons that are coming in through the 1111 portal. I saw them descending down on Earth, and they're also here forming a beautiful grid around Earth, mostly on the top, and they're floating around. They are being the portal themselves. These dragons are the portal to these energies, these target energies that are coming through. And I also did see actually dragons in my dream time. So if you tap back and check with your guides, you'll be able to tap into new dragons that might have entered your family. They may not be in the physical because there's only so many pets that you can bring in as cats and dogs and other beautiful fur babies, but energetically, there are a whole ton of them out there. And there's a whole new lot of babies that have been birthed that have come in. So that is something, again, I saw in dream time, and I'm so happy to welcome them. And they're also here on Earth as well, bringing in those beautiful source codes of activations and justice, the new era that we are entering now, and that we've actually entered now. and just to feel happy about that. And at the same time, if any challenges come our way, to really surrender and know that this universe is all about justice, equality, love, and that will always be the key to our essence. And no matter what goes on here, ultimately, that's the frequency that we're going to be at. So just hold that space for that. So those are the messages that came through. Sending you all source love, source blessings, and joyous moments, and lots of love and healing blessings towards everywhere else that we need to send them to on earth. Thank you everyone for listening in. My blessings to y'all. At the same time, if any challenges come our way, to really surrender and know that this universe is all about justice, equality, love, and that will always be the key to our essence. And no matter what goes on here, ultimately, that's the frequency that we're going to be at. So just hold that space for that. So those are the messages that came through. Sending you all source love, source blessings, and joyous moments, and lots of love and healing blessings towards everywhere else that we need to send them to on earth. Thank you everyone for listening in. My blessings to y'all.